Hey, it's Leslie here. Hope everyone's doing well. This is Leslie Chapman with your Harris County, coming live again. Today, what I want to talk about is estate planning. Not necessarily the details around estate planning, because I am not I'm not an attorney, so definitely not a real estate. I'm not an attorney, so I can't, give you that type of legal advice. But what I did have the opportunity to do this week was to help a friend, my neighbor, who is a senior citizen. She's in her 80s. I went with her to help her to an attorney and for a consultation, and so there was some good information there, and so that's what is the premise of me doing this video here, because I feel that we as young people, I'm in my second round of my 20s. Let's put it that way. I'm in my second round of my 20s, and so middle-aged folks, or sometimes we feel like we're invincible, or this is not something that we need to be talking about and planning for, but we do. Death is inevitable, and so it's not just relegated to those who are in the senior population, but it's important for, when you reach adulthood, to be thinking like that. In particular, when you have a family and kids and things like that, those type of life estate planning things we tend to push off to the side. Said, okay, I'll get to that, and then we come and we meet, or we have friends or people that we know, colleagues. We hear of situations where folks pass and they're young, and we don't necessarily know all the details, but especially if the family wasn't ready for that death at that time, did they plan? So it makes me pause and say, you know what, we got to get it together. And I'm speaking to myself as well. But some of the information that came out in the consultation that I thought was really important, which is what I want to share, is first of all, that attorney that we met with, I am going to be utilizing that attorney for stuff that my husband and I are wanting to put into place as well for our family. She was very compassionate. She was understanding. She listened. And those were key attributes to me that are important, especially when you're dealing with such sensitive topics such as that. One of the things that she impressed upon my neighbor was that it's better to make these decisions when you have your full faculty, your mind, you're able to control what happens to your assets, state your wishes before you get to a place where you may not be able to do that health-wise. So in the conversation, when it came to estate planning, it was about naming key roles, essentially. And I don't know the legal terms. As I said before, I'm not an attorney, but key roles is someone who would be a guardian over your medical affairs, so a medical guardian, and then someone that would identify someone who will be a guardian over your financial affairs, and then also stating what it is that you want. And when you state how you're gonna leave your assets or distribute it, do it by percentages and not dollar value. So, because the dollar values could change over time. So if you have 4 kids, instead of saying, I'm going to leave each kid $20,000, then say you'll leave each kid a percentage amount. So maybe you want to do 25%, or, just whatever that percentage is, because then everybody would get that percentage of whatever is left of the assets that are to be distributed when a person becomes deceased. Another point that she brought up was that when you do things like that and you get your affairs in order and you say what you want to be transferred or how you want your assets to be distributed when you're gone, you save your family money, because they don't have to go to probate. And I've done a video on probate, and probate can be very costly. So that's actually wisdom if you plan ahead, so that your family, your loved ones, don't have to bear that expense, that type of burden once you're gone, and have to go through the whole probate process. Not only is it costly, can get costly, but it's also time consuming. And so you help to avoid that for them as well. What other point that was brought up was about, you know, transferring vehicles. If you want, like, so at least in the state of Texas, if you want your vehicle, you know, transferred, or you know you want to give it to someone, if you pass on, there's a form from the Department of Public Services, or our motor vehicles department here, where you can get a form and then transfer that beneficiary. That's not necessarily something that needs to be in a will, stated in a will per se. Now, if you have a Bentley or something like that, that might be that might be another thing. But for your regular old cars, nah, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be in the will. There's a separate form that you can do. And so those are some key points that came up. And then the last point that I want to bring up is having identifying someone to be an executor of your estate. They don't have to be related to you, but they do need to be responsible, so that no matter what happens when a person becomes deceased, they will execute the directives that are stipulated in the will and the last wishes of the individual, where they want to be buried, who gets what percentage, all those things. That person would be responsible for that, and making sure those things, you know, carry out, that they actually happen. So those are a few tips that I took away from the consultation from this particular attorney. I recommend that everyone, you know, get one that you find that's reliable, reputable, and compassionate, you know, when you're talking about these types of subjects. But it's important because it's actually wise to do that. So if you're a wise person, then you will take care of your affairs, you know, and so that your progenitors will be able to enjoy the inheritance. All right, this is Leslie Chapman with your Harris County. Subscribe to my page, my channel, and follow me. I love the followership, if that's a word. I love the followership. So subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned, and y'all take care. Blessings to you. Shalom.